Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to be talking through wire types for your jewellery making. So if you've ever done any wire jewellery making before and gone to purchase some wire, you may have found it a little bit confusing because there's so many different types of wire that you can use. And there tends to be four things that I consider when I'm looking at what wire to buy. I look at the metal type, I look at the thickness of the wire, I look at the shape, and I look at the hardness. So once you've got all those things down, you're pretty much there. So we're going to start with the metal types. So silver plated wire is quite often used, and that's what this one is. So it's normally got a base metal on the inside like copper or brass, and it's plated in silver. And it's an inexpensive wire and it's easy to use, great for sort of fashion jewellery. However, if you use silver plated wire, eventually the plating will wear off. So if you want to go a little bit more upmarket, you might go for some silver wire. It looks the same to the naked eye, but this is solid silver. So this wire will not, the plating can't be worn off because there's no plating. So it's just a little bit more high end if you're making kind of wedding jewellery, or you want to make sterling silver pieces, you're working with gemstones, that kind of thing. Then in terms of gold, we have gold plated wire, which is this one. Again, it looks the same as gold wire, and this has a plating on it. And again, it can be worn off, but it's nice to make fashion rings, to make lots of pieces of jewellery. If you like the gold look and don't perhaps want to stretch to the budget of solid gold wire, this is a good option. You can also use solid gold wire, but what is used quite a lot, and which I work with quite a lot, is something called gold filled wire. This is kind of in between solid gold and gold plated. It's actually got a very thick layer of plating, which means that it's going to stay gold pretty much forever. So you've got, you know, all of the value of that without paying all the expense for the gold. So I use that a lot with my gemstone works, called gold filled. Other types of wire you might work with are copper wire or base metal wires, and you can also get craft wire, which comes in lots of different colours. So feel free to experiment with different wires and different wire types when you're first starting out. You can also buy fine silver wire, but that's not used very much. It's very soft, and that's pretty much the plethora of wires and metal types that you're going to have. So first of all, choose the metal type you'd like to work with. The next thing I look at is thickness. So you'll notice all these wires come in different thickness. So this is a very fine wire. This is a much thicker wire, and you can kind of tell the difference between the two. And there's everything in between, and it goes even thicker. In the UK, we measure wire thickness in millimetres or 0.1 millimetre. So this is 0.4 millimetres, which is quite a fine wire. I'll use this for wrapping small gemstones. Often it goes up typically in kind of every two, so be 0.4, then you might have some 0.6 wire, 0.8 wire, 1 millimetre, 1.2. You can get the sizes in between, but they're not used quite as readily. When you first start working with wire, I recommend getting some 0.8. This is a 0.8 thickness. And you can buy them in big reels like this, or you can buy smaller amounts depending on how much you want to use. 0.8 is a really good thickness to have because it's used for ear wires, it's often used for jump rings. It's the wire that we use the most, so 0.8, and also 0.6 if you like slightly more dainty jewellery is a really good thickness to play around with. So I tend to have some of those. In the US, it's not measured in millimetres, it's actually measured in wire gauge. So you can get charts that show the conversions, and the gauges come in numbers like 20, 22, 24, 26. So just check the size of the wire, the gauge, or the millimetres, depending on where you're buying it from, and make sure you've got the right thickness before you purchase your wire. So the next thing that I think about is shape, and most wires, all of these here are round. So most wires come with a round shape, which is obviously round all the way around, which are used for most projects. But you can get square shaped wire, which is really nice for using for certain types of wire wrapping or making bangles or rings. And you can also get D-shaped wire, which is wire that has a flat side and a curved side. So it's like half, sometimes it's called half round or D-shaped. And you can also get oval wire and some other variations sometimes, but the one that we use the most is round. So the final thing that people often ask about when it comes to wire is hardness. So when you buy a wire, it may say on it, they don't always, but it may, so for example on here, this is from the Scientific Wire Company, it says hard. So it says 0.8 millimeters hard silver plated copper wire. So hard is a type of hardness. It comes in 3 types. There's hard, there's half hard, and there's soft. So hard is pretty tough. So it's good to work with if you want to create kind of the outside of a piece, if you're creating something structural, but it is quite firm to work with. Soft is a very soft wire. So the disadvantage to soft is if you're making anything structural, it's not going to be very strong, so it's going to be easy to manipulate that piece. But soft can be good for doing lots of wrapping. So if I want to do something more delicate, then I'm not too concerned if it's soft. My favourite type of wire, which I always go for if I have the option, is the middle one, which is half hard. So it's half hard and half soft, and it's kind of the best of both worlds. So you have something that's easy to manipulate, easy to work with, but also strong enough to hold its structure. So don't worry too much about the hardness. For most projects, it's not going to be the end of the world. And to be honest, sometimes when I buy things, it doesn't even say the hardness, which is okay. So just go for it and play and experiment. But where you can, get some half hard. So they're the different types of wires. I hope that's been helpful. Do check out some of our other videos to see how we use the wires to make some lovely jewellery, and good luck with your making. I hope to see you on another video soon.